Shalom, royal daughter of Yah. That is shalom, which is much better than hey girl, hey. But shalom and hey girl, hey. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Alicia by Faith. I'm Alicia Victoria. Let's get started. In today's video, let's continue forward in the discussion of self-care habits, real, practical, holistic self-care habits for body, mind, spirit, and soul as we walk out the YAH Ordained marriage promise journey, walk out loving a prodigal, walk out this walk with its different times, seasons, places, events, twists and turns, and the like. If you have not watched part 1 with the first 5 self-care habits, I would recommend that you would do so, as today's video is a pickup and connection from that video. Today's video will be habits 6 through 10. And in the last habit, the 5th habit, before sharing habit number 6, I was sharing about self-care through practicing Sabbath, Yah's Shabbat, his Sabbaths. So again, if you do not know what I'm referring to, check out the video part 1 of the 5 self-care habits. Continuing from habit number 5 and knowing that with habit number 5, we can cast our cares to the Lord. We can cast our cares upon Him because He cares for us. There are a number of scriptures regarding the casting of cares. It's on to habit number 6. Okay? Habit number 6. Sometimes self-care is not about adding, like, oh, let me add another habit, let me add something new, let me do this for myself, let me try X, Y, and Z. It's not so much about adding, but taking away. So habit number 6 is about the taking away. What can be taken away out of our environments that helps to support us in self-care and self-care throughout this journey. Because one thing I mentioned about the habits in video or part 1 for these 5 self-care habits is that the self-care habits that we choose should be ones that build upon itself over time and that we can carry not only into the YAH Ordained marriage promise, but with us now in this journey, during the promise, beyond, and in the promised land. So in taking away, I like to call this habit taking away micro annoyances. There's so much trendy talk today in our current social culture about micro this, macro that, like what are microaggressions or what are like micro habits that someone can do to glow up. Well, think of this like the micro habit of taking away micro annoyances, and that can really build up and work in a cumulative and compounded way over time. What are small things that are already taking place in your life that are maybe annoying? They may even be day-to-day annoying, or they might even be, something more seasonally, but something that you have experienced something that you have experienced repeatedly and that has happened over time that you're like, okay, this is an annoyance. It could be an email that comes to your inbox day after day. You're like, okay, I've been meaning to put that on the spam list or get rid of it, but you just keep letting it hit into your inbox. No, take away this micro annoyance. It's one of the things you can do for cumulative compounding habits of taking away the annoyance so that you have more space. You're freeing up things for habits of self-care and things that are not distraction or that would contribute to, just not the an environment that's supportive of you in this journey. Because with this journey, you want to move in strategic wisdom. You want to move in a wisdom that recognizes that it's already a, quote, hard enough journey. It's already hard enough, some of the things encountered in the day-to-day and the wildernesses and the tests, etc. We don't need to add to, but take away where we can. So finding those micro annoyances, dealing with them, or taking a day to deal with them and removing them out of your environment so you can, they'll be gone. You'll be free from them. It'll be something else off the plate so you can make room for those things that actually matter. So that's habit number 6. Habit number 7. And this is going to be in relation to a discussion recently shared by Christian influencer Melody Alyssa. And in this video that she shares, she talks about having counterfeit comforts. And I wanted to elaborate upon that and say, self-care that can be practiced for us during this journey is not to create counterfeit comforts. Again, this goes to point number 6 with the taking away. And if you have done this type of thing, it might be an area where it is taking away counterfeit comforts or coping mechanisms or habits that were unhealthy, that are not serving you currently, that will not serve you well in the future. And they're really, as the name says, counterfeit comforts. It could look like when you're going through stress and you're not feeling well, you're having a rough time, you want to turn to a comfort food. And that's what you've done in the past. And it does feel like a form of comfort, but it actually is a counterfeit form of comfort because it is a coping type of mechanism. It might lead to more emotional eating, and it might not be what you truly need in that moment and space and time. For example, the true comfort may be turning to YAH, facing things with him, taking some time out in solitude and dealing with what's going on emotionally and letting him nurture you in comfort. But the counterfeit comfort that is very quick, that is very satisfying, that might be the familiar, would be getting the comfort food, emotional eating, X, Y, and Z. So examining your life for what you can take away in terms of counterfeit comforts so that you can actually have true comfort that would really give you the self-care that you are looking for and need. So replacing that counterfeit with the true. We hear the terminology counterfeit so much within the community of kingdom marriage and God ordained marriage and prodigal love stories, etc., and usually in reference to the counterfeit literally, or the counterfeit promise, or the prodigal having a counterfeit in their life or a counterfeit identity. But no, we also could possibly be creating our own types of counterfeits through counterfeit comforts. So don't let the enemy get a foothold. Don't be deceived by his subtle schemes. Let it be exposed today. Look at your life, examine where and if you have any counterfeit comforts, and seek YAH for the true comfort in him that will support you in self-care. Number 8. Okay, yeah, we're on number 8. This one is a little unusual because usually the terminology is used in the sense to not do this type of advice, but I'm actually going to advise you to do this type of advice, and it is burning bridges. Typically, we're told don't burn bridges, don't burn bridges. Burning bridges is something that one should, quote, not do because you always want to keep a path open to a possible relationship or thing of the past, or just keep things open. But I would say, in terms of self-care, on this future forward journey, on this being present journey, on the leaving of the past and letting YAH make all things new, burn bridges. And burn bridges when it comes to destructive habits, things of the past not of YAH, old ways and old mindsets. Even if you need to close the door on old relationships, people, and places, there is a time and place in YAH to walk away, to leave the past, to, quote, burn the bridges and say, I'm on to the new. And that can look like new places, new ways you spend your time. Quote, separating and saying no to old habits that don't serve self-care, that don't serve you, that don't serve the purposes, plans, and promises that Yah has for you well. Saying no more. I don't need to keep a door open to this. I don't need to keep a door open to certain people. I don't need to keep a door open to certain things or certain ways. Burn the bridge through Yah. Trust him for the rest to move forward, and that which and who should be in the future, should be with you in the promise and promised land, will be and do so. Yah can bring them back if need be, but if it's not serving, it's not going to truly help you, learning to burn that bridge now. So you don't take that old into the new. You don't try to take the Egypt into the promised land. Learning how to do that now in the present as a form of self-care and walking in the new. Continuing forward, the next self-care habit that one can do is what I would call the habit swap. Sometimes with self-care habits, they can seem like radical changes or such new things or even new concepts or harder concepts to do if they're not something we're familiar or even comfortable with. But with a habit swap, it's a little easier. It's more incremental is what I would say. It's self-care that can be applied on a practical and physical level and holistically to really support yourself, especially if you feel like you need self-care quick, fast, and in a hurry. And the habit swap is basically taking an existing habit and just changing it, bringing some minor changes to it to make it more healthful, productive, and self-care fashioned. For example, like if someone was on a fitness journey and they love chocolate candy bars, instead of grabbing that chocolate candy bar in the moment of temptation, trigger, difficulty, etc., what they can instead is already have a habit swap, which could be a chocolate protein bar. So then when they're in the moment, they don't have to think too deeply about it. They don't have to fall into a binge or temptation. They can still have what they like, but in a more healthful, productive, and effective type of way. So it's a habit swap. Candy bar for a protein bar. For example, if you know that secular music was very much a trigger for you and it doesn't serve you in self-care, and when you're feeling down, depressed, in sorrow, like heartache, heartbreak, and lament, listening to the Adeles and the Drake and the Sade and whatever genre you like, sad country music, may not be the habit that you want to do for true self-care. That could be actually a form of counterfeit comfort. Speaking of a point from the past, listening to that secular or older music of the past that would feed the emotional needs or seem relatable to heartache and heartbreak and betrayal. Yeah, it could be Whitney Houston's Heartbreak Hotel, or it could be Mary J. Blige. It was a counterfeit comfort that you may have used in the past, but in the habit swap and in seeking true comfort, why not switch that habit out to edifying music and YAH, a playlist that speaks to healing and praise and worship, but that can still speak to what's going on in the heart. For example, one of the songs that I had that did that was by an artist. Her name is Bethany Dillon, and I'll link her song in the description box. And her song is called To Those Who Wait. So it's a song that speaks realistically about waiting, longing, expectation, even sorrow, but the focus fixes back to YAH and how he's going to fulfill those expectations and how we have a hope in him for both the present and future. So it's a habit swap for self-care, and it's something that I highly recommend, just examining what in your life can you implement habit swaps for, whether that is for physical things like talking about eating earlier, whether it's for the type of music you listen to, whether it's spiritual, physical, and or emotional habit swaps that you can do. Continuing on, the next point, and point number 10, I believe it's point number 10, is setting up your environment for self-care. Setting up your environment for self-care. And I learned this in part from a content creator on YouTube, and I'm going to link her video in the description box where she goes more into the concept and idea of this. But this is a high focus on your environment and making whatever environment you have, no matter how big or small, whatever is under your stewardship and care, an environment set up for self-care. So when you feel like you might be going through, or that this is very hard, or this journey seems unbearable, you already have an environment that sets you up to get in what I'd say the bounce back, to get you refocused, to get you in a place of nourishment. And literally, from your environment, because we know our environments can be very influential towards our attitude. So setting up your environment for self-care can look like having intentional space for solitude within your environment. So it could look like a quiet corner, a prayer corner, a reading space that you intentionally set up. So when you're starting to feel a certain way, when the enemy's trying to bring a funk upon you, you're like, okay, let me go to my self-care solitude corner and spend some time there. Another way that can look like is if you know you don't like a lot of clutter, you like a more minimalistic environment, and that helps you in your thinking process and, just how you go about your day, making sure that your environment is set up in that way. Another way that one can set up their environment for self-care is that if you like practical types of physical spa life, self-care, beauty treatments, things of that nature, and those things help you to relax, you could set up stations in your room, apartment, house, wherever you may be. Again, this is not talking about the size of the space, but how you steward the space. And you can put things like your favorite foot mask or teas, or your favorite mask, body creams, or set up a quick pedicure station in the corner of your bathroom, having it already ready, having your own bath care bucket filled with bath bombs and whatever you may like, so you can just grab it on the go. So when you need that self-care, you don't have to go into thinking about it too deep, figuring out what you need to do, planning space and a whole day for it. You're like, okay, I got my bath basket. I'm feeling like in a funk. Let me put on my playlist of music that I've already habit swapped out. Let me get some real comfort from the Lord. Let me get my bath bombs and my teas already ready, and it already has my favorite snack. My environment is set up for success, and it's set up for self-care. So even when I come out my bath, I can go sit in my solitude space if I want to afterwards, and wherever and however I have set up my environment for self-care, I can do so, and with a level of ease, because I have set up my environment for self-care. And if you want to learn more about this concept, again, the video will be linked in the description box from the original content creator, so you can see like how someone walks this out in real time, and maybe it will give you additional inspiration in setting up your own environments for self-care. So there you have it. A total of 10 self-care habits that if one implements them, there can be powerful, effective change cumulatively and compounded over time that can be used in both the present and the future, that can be used for today and in the promise and your promised land, that can serve not only you, but can serve you when you're in your YAH ordained marriage promise with your husband of YAH, because these are the types of habits that you can carry with you, build upon them, nurture them, and as you do them for yourself, it will not only benefit you, it will benefit both you and your kingdom spouse and your household. These are habits that have a ripple type of effect, and they're worth investigating, worth learning about now, and getting into the habit of doing so, and learning about self-care no matter what the circumstance may look like. Finding pockets of self-care, being intentional about holistic self-care, regardless if you're in the promised land or if you're in the valley. you are able to do either. Either way, you are set up for success. So I encourage you to look in the description box of both videos, get into some of these habits, pray that the Holy Spirit not give you this information, but give you revelation for how you can move forward and walk this out in real time, real life, as you are in this YAH ordained marriage promise journey. So that's all for now. And until next time, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And from glory to glory, grace to grace, strength to strength, shalom.